Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
About a year ago, I caught the virus. Most people bounce back after a week or two, but I'm one of the unlucky ones who never really recovered. The doctors call it long COVID. What it means for me is that I wake up every day feeling like I ran a marathon the night before. My lungs burn when I climb stairs. I get winded putting on my shoes. Some days I need a cane just to walk from my car to the front door. The state gave me a handicapped parking permit that's good for 2 years. I hate using it. I'm only 32, and every time I hang that placard in my window, I feel like I'm admitting defeat. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is not being able to leave my house. The one bright spot in all this has been my cars. I collect them, mostly Japanese imports that I fix up and modify. My favorite is a chaser I brought over from Japan a few years back. I turned it into a drift car, put thousands of hours and dollars into making it perfect. The hood alone cost me $3,200. It's custom carbon fiber with special drilling for the hood exit exhaust. When I'm behind the wheel of that car, I forget about my useless lungs for a little while. I was driving it home when my wife called asking if I could grab some stuff for dinner. I told her sure and asked what she needed. She rattled off a list and I pulled into the shopping center near our house. 2 handicapped spots were open right next to each other. I backed into the one further from the store entrance, hung my permit on the rearview mirror, and grabbed my cane from the passenger seat. The store wasn't busy. I loaded up a cart with everything my wife asked for, leaning heavily on the handle because my legs were starting to shake. The cane hung from the push bar while I walked. By the time I got to the checkout, my chest felt tight. I just wanted to get home. When I came back outside, there was a police car parked right in front of my chaser. A woman was standing next to the officer, pointing at my car and talking fast. I pushed my cart over, putting my weight on it to stay steady. I asked if everything was okay. The woman whipped around to face me. She was maybe 50, dressed like she was about to demand to speak to a manager. She asked who I thought I was, parking in a handicapped spot. I held up my cane. She said no handicapped person would drive a car like this. She said I was faking it and probably made that placard at home. The officer held up a hand and told her the placard and tag on the vehicle came back to the same name. He asked to see my driver's license. I pulled out my wallet and handed it over. He looked at it, then at the permit hanging in my window, then back at me. He apologized for bothering me and told me to have a nice afternoon. He started to walk back to his patrol car. The woman asked what he was doing. She said he couldn't just let me go. She called my car a piece of junk and said it needed to be towed now. My jaw clenched. The officer explained that even if I didn't have the right to park there, they would just ticket the car, not tow it. She demanded to speak to his sergeant. She dragged out the word like a toddler throwing a fit. He told her there was no reason to call his sergeant out there and suggested she continue on with her shopping. He wished us both a good day. The woman made a disgusted noise and walked off toward the store. The officer and I both laughed awkwardly. That uncomfortable laugh you share with a stranger when you've witnessed something truly bizarre. He shrugged and got back in his car. I started loading groceries into the back seat. The officer pulled away. I was almost done when I heard it. Bang, bang, bang. I looked up and my heart stopped. The woman was back. She had a hammer. She was slamming it down on the hood of my car. The front bumper dented. One of my headlights exploded. She raised the hammer again and brought it down hard on the carbon fiber hood. It cracked straight down the middle, splintering from end to end. I didn't think. I just moved. I shoved her hard. She hit the ground on her back and rolled onto her stomach. For a second, she just lay there. Then she started screaming. 2 customers ran out of the store. A guy in an apron came running from the parking lot. They grabbed her arms and held her back while she thrashed and shrieked. She pulled out her phone and called the police. My hands were shaking. I just pushed the woman to the ground. I could already see the assault charge in my head. The same officer showed up less than 5 minutes later with 2 more units. He walked straight to me and told me to turn around and put my hands behind my back. I did. The cuffs clicked shut around my wrists. The woman was screaming the whole time about how I assaulted her. The officer looked at the front of my car and asked what happened. I explained that she attacked my car with a hammer right after he left. I told him I pushed her away because she was about to swing it at me. The woman called me a liar. She said she only hit the hood once because she missed hitting me. My stomach dropped. At least she admitted to trying to hit me. Then I remembered. The cameras. I told the officer I had dash cams on this car that record whenever there's motion. I said everything was on video and I could pull it up on my phone. He uncuffed me. The woman started screaming louder. I opened the app and handed him my phone. The video was crystal clear, 1080 p.m. Full sound. You could hear the hammer hitting the hood. You could hear me yell when I realized what was happening. And right at the end, you could see the woman drawing the hammer back to swing it at my head before I shoved her. The officer's face went hard. He handed my phone back and walked over to the woman. He told her to turn around and put her hands behind her back. She fought him. She actually fought him. One of the other officers had to help wrestle her into cuffs. Then she spat on him. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. They put her in the back of a patrol car. The officer told me she was facing 4 charges: felony destruction of property, felony assault, assault on an officer, resisting arrest. He followed me home to make sure the car made it the 2 miles without falling apart. Now it's sitting in my garage with a cracked hood and a destroyed bumper. I'm on hold with my insurance agent. After this, I'm calling a lawyer. That woman is going to pay for every cent of damage she caused. I settled into the cafe chair on the hotel patio, soaking in the May sunshine. The presentation was finally over, and I could breathe again. My dark blue suit jacket hung on the chair beside me. My tie loosened just enough to feel human again. 2 years. That's how long our team had spent working on that research paper about patient education and training. And naturally, when it came time to present it at the Nursing Council's annual convention, everyone somehow became incredibly busy. So there I was, the designated sacrifice, standing in front of a room full of professionals at 8 in the morning. But it went well. Better than expected, actually. The questions afterward were thoughtful, not hostile, and a few people even approached me to discuss potential collaborations. I was riding that post-presentation high when I spotted an old classmate from nursing school in the lobby. We grabbed coffee and picked a spot on the patio. The place was packed with other nurses, students, and convention attendees. The 5-star hotel hosting the event was one of those pristine establishments that charged more for a night than I made in a week. I was staying at a much more reasonable hotel a few blocks away, the kind where 100 euros per night seemed steep rather than standard. My friend and I caught up on life, careers, mutual acquaintances. She excused herself to use the bathroom, mentioning she wanted to catch another presentation starting in 20 minutes. I pulled out my phone to check messages, my laptop sitting on the table beside me in its bag, the zipper slightly open from when I'd grabbed my presentation notes earlier. A shadow fell across the table. Before I could look up, a shrill voice cut through the pleasant afternoon atmosphere. I turned to find a woman staring down at me with barely contained irritation. Everything about her screamed money, trying too hard to look like class. The haircut was aggressively styled, her clothes expensive but somehow cheap-looking, dripping with labels and accessories. Her entire posture radiated entitlement. She told me that she and her friends had been waiting for someone to take their order for 5 minutes. She gestured toward a table where 3 similar-looking women sat, all watching with varying degrees of impatience. I asked what that had to do with me, genuinely confused about why she was telling me this. She ordered me to get off my break and come take their order. I started to tell her that she needed to wait for one of the actual servers and that I didn't work there, but she cut me off. She leaned down, getting right in my face, close enough that I could smell her overpowering perfume. She called me a peon and insisted that they were paying customers and that I would do as I was told. She declared that my break was over. Before I could react, she swept her arms across the table in a dramatic arc. Coffee cups tumbled, water glasses tipped, and liquid cascaded everywhere. Most of it splashed onto me, soaking my shirt and pants. But the worst part was watching it pour directly onto my laptop through that slightly open zipper. I stood up fast enough to knock my chair back. At 6'4" and 225 pounds, I towered over her. Even with her 3-inch heels, she barely came up to my shoulder. I told her to listen up and called her a witch. I made it clear that I didn't work there, and even if I did, I wouldn't serve people with her attitude. I also told her that if something happened to the laptop, she would be paying for it. She asked if I dared to threaten her, emphasizing the word "me" like it should mean something special. She demanded to know if I knew who she was. I told her I had no idea and didn't care. I called her an entitled witch. By now half the patio was staring. A server in the standard black pants, white shirt, and black apron was hurrying over. The woman must have seen him approaching because she suddenly swung her hand at my face, going for a full slap. I caught her wrist mid-swing just when the server reached us. The server asked what was happening. The woman immediately complained that his colleague was refusing to take their order and was threatening her. The server looked at me, taking in my soaked business suit and tie, then back at the woman. He explained that I didn't work there and was actually a customer. You could actually see her brain short-circuit. Instead of backing down or apologizing, she doubled down, her voice rising to a shriek. Other servers appeared, then a manager in a crisp navy suit. Finally, 2 security guards. The manager asked both of us to explain what happened. I told him that this woman had insulted me, deliberately dropped coffee on me and my personal belongings, and tried to attack me. I made it clear that I wanted to press charges. The word police sent her into orbit. She launched into a tirade about discrimination against foreign tourists, threatening to sue me, the hotel, probably the entire country. She kept insisting that we should respect our betters, her voice carrying across the now silent patio. Her friends at the other table suddenly seemed very interested in their phones. Security escorted her out while she was still yelling threats over her shoulder. The manager apologized, examining the coffee-soaked laptop with genuine concern. When I opened it, liquid dripped from the keyboard. Completely ruined. My friend returned from the bathroom looking bewildered by the commotion. I explained what happened while giving my statement to hotel security and later to the police, who arrived to take my formal complaint. The hotel's general manager appeared personally to apologize, offering me a complimentary weekend stay at any time of my choosing. I accepted, though it felt like cold comfort, while looking at my destroyed laptop. A year later, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Inside was a settlement agreement and a check for 3,500 euros. Apparently, the entitled tourist had tried to fight the charges, but between the witness statements from dozens of convention attendees and the hotel's security footage, her lawyer advised settling. I used part of the money for a top-of-the-line laptop. The rest went toward an actual vacation at that 5-star hotel, using my complimentary weekend. The irony wasn't lost on me when I relaxed on that same patio, properly served this time, enjoying coffee that stayed in the cup where it belonged. I need to be upfront about something. My company works with point-of-sale systems. We sell computers, software, printers, card readers, and pretty much anything you need to take money from someone else. But understanding that isn't really important for this story. What matters is understanding Todd. Every company has a Todd. You know who your Todd is because he's who you call when you don't know who to call. When the unthinkable happens and everything is on fire and there's no hope of salvation, Todd steps in to fix it. Todd spends his entire time just fixing the unfixable. He's been with the company since the dawn of time, knows the true names of several demons, and was in the room when the old magic was written. Our Todd has an elite team to be on call when stuff breaks. Each team member is the highest authority in the company for one specific thing or another. They're the elite. Their word is law, and to question them is to question Todd. After years of working in the call center, I proved myself worthy of Todd's attention. I interviewed, tested, and became the specialist of third-party integration. My focus is the connection between our product and whatever weird stuff your company wants to use. Getting smart lights to change on command from ordering kiosks, letting the staff control the new jukebox you bought with their employee ID cards, or getting the sales data for the day to report to your Canadian counterparts in both French and English, but only if someone buys the poutine Sarah surprise that day. You get the idea. During my time in the call center, I was paid hourly. As a specialist, I would be made a salaried employee and would be on call. After accepting the position, I was told that I would have a trial period of 1 month to prove myself. I would remain hourly, but would have a pay increase to more closely match my expected rate as a salaried employee. I would have the title change and new responsibilities of my job, but I had this month to prove I was worth the extra money. On the first day of my new job, we got a call from one of our more needy clients. They had demands. All of their stores must be upgraded to Windows 10, as each store makes about $10,000 a day. Taking them down for a remodel is not acceptable. All of these upgrades must be done overnight while the store is closed. If the upgrade fails, the store must be rolled back that night so they can open on time. The window of time to do one of these upgrades is 8 hours. The fastest they've been able to do one is 10 hours. All of this meant one thing. They needed a specialist to do the upgrades, one that knows their integration. I gave Todd the put me in coach nod and a deal was struck. Todd was about to leave on vacation, which left me under the control of Steve, the director of the support center, who used to be my boss before I worked for Todd. I was now on overnights. 4 nights a week I upgraded these stores. I supervised 2 to 3 technicians who were on site in separate stores. I did all the software, they did the hardware. This process was staggered based on time zones, so I generally was pulling 12-hour shifts. The overtime was amazing, especially paired with the raise I got. Fast forward a week or two. The initial batch did not go the best. I had a 40% failure rate. This was due to scripts provided to both the client and me by the various third-party companies used by the stores, including their music, food delivery, and credit card processors. Everyone on their side knew who the bad guy was here. Talks were in place and we were moving forward. A meeting between the client and us was scheduled near the end of the week, right in the middle of my off time. I was working 12 hours a day. I lived a full hour from work and for security reasons couldn't do these upgrades outside the office. I had 10 hours to eat, sleep, get up, and eat again before work. Once I got to work, there were no breaks on the upgrade train. No lunch, no stopping. So I got home around 11 in the morning each day. The meeting was set for 4 in the afternoon. I couldn't get any reasonable sleep before the meeting or after. Steve demanded that I be there to account for my failures. I already had another specialist designated as my proxy for these sorts of meetings because sleep is a thing. I also explained that I was still hourly, but he wouldn't hear it. He told me I needed to be there to explain why the project was going so poorly and that my explanation better not just be throwing other people under the bus. He tried to explain that I was salaried and therefore needed to be there when the company needed me, especially when I was the one who was screwing up. Again, I tried to remind him of my probationary period, but he wouldn't listen. And there, my friends, begins the malicious compliance. I clocked in at 10 in the evening the day before the meeting. I did my upgrades, all 3 of which were successes, due to what I assumed was a change in the third-party backend. The scripts I was provided with worked perfectly this time and all went well. The corporate contact I reported to in the morning told me the meeting was just to go over the new changes to procedure we went through that night, and I would get the summary in my email. No need to attend the meeting. I thanked them and signed out. Then I sat. For 6 hours, I twiddled my thumbs, took a lunch break and a car nap, and waited for the meeting. When it was time, I walked upstairs to the top floor, in the conference room, where everyone but Steve was shocked to see me. I took my place and waited for the meeting to start, saying that I was asked to be there. The meeting lasted 30 minutes and consisted of the new procedure, praise for my diligence, and a quick overview of how the timetable would change because of the past failures. It was noted that my performance had prevented a lot of the sites from failing when they would have otherwise, and the client was pleased with my work. Steve, who had previously blamed me for the failures, sheepishly agreed that I was a good fit for the project. Then the meeting ended with the icing on the cake. The person giving the talk said that she knew I was asleep right now, so she would go over the changes with me personally when I got in that night. Meanwhile, the guy I asked to sit in on the meeting for me would work with them to set up the changes to be deployed. About 3 hours of work, so that it was all ready when I got in at 10. The meeting ended. Steve made a comment about the changes being done by someone with more experience and hinted that it should be my responsibility. I cheerfully said that rather than waste my co-workers' time, I would just do the changes myself. I had my third or fourth wind by now and was ready to go. At the end of day 2, I had spent 36 hours at work. Caffeine was my only salvation, and we were almost done. Near the end, I was basically waiting for a technician at my last store to finish testing, so I told him to call me and shut my eyes for about half an hour just to rest a bit. All was well. I got called, everything was green. The vigil was over. 2 of my friends insisted on driving me home, where I promptly passed out into the most heavenly sleep I had had in ages. I woke up to an email asking me to head into work for a meeting with Human Resources. It was my day off, so I was kind of perplexed. I headed in and apologized for being fashionably late. The meeting was with the head of Human Resources, who had a report that I was sleeping on the job. There was camera footage of my 30-minute power nap. I explained that Steve had asked me to show up to the meeting and then asked me to stay later to set up the changes. And by the time I took my nap during what I called my paid 30-minute break, I had been in the building for 35 hours. I politely reminded the head of Human Resources that I was on my trial period and would be expecting overtime pay for that time. It came out to about 33 hours and change, due to my extended lunch break. Todd returned from his vacation and tore Steve a new definition of duties. From then on, he would not be given control over Todd's team when he was away, and we would report directly to the CEO. The project completed without much incident, and I passed my probation with flying colors. Steve would later be fired several months later due to a similar situation where he threw someone so hard under the bus that everyone stopped and saw how uncool that was. He was replaced with a different guy named Steve, who is a superior Steve in every way. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.